The first grave appeared before the smoke cleared. A small mound of black soil on a world that had no soil left. And Princess Aurelian stood among the ruins of Kara 9, watching a human soldier kneel beside it as if the war had not ended with victory. But with a name, the battlefield stretched for 40 kilometers. Burned armor, shattered drones, glass trenches, fallen banners. And siege walkers still glowing at the joints. Her empire had one, technically. The rebel fortress was broken, the moon belonged to her again, yet the human allies did not celebrate. They moved through the dead with shovels, scanners, blankets, and careful hands, lifting enemies as gently as friends, speaking names into recorders that would outlive them all. Aurelian had seen monuments, victory towers, bone pyramids built to warn the next enemy. But these were not warnings. They were graves, low, stubborn. Planted into the killing ground, that was what disturbed her most. The humans buried memory where terror had stood. Captain Jonah Hale was the first human she had trusted with a fleet. He had fought like a storm through the siege, turning broken supply ships into shields, holding the West Ridge with 300 soldiers against 10,000 machines, and refusing evacuation after a plasma lance burned through his side. Aurelian found him at dusk, kneeling beside markers hammered from rifle barrels. His hands shook, not from fear, but from restraint. "Why do you do this?" She asked. "The war is over. The dead cannot hear you. The battlefield should be erased, purified, made clean." Jonah pressed a marker into the ground, then looked up with eyes too tired to be polite. That is what monsters say when they want the next war to be easier. The answer struck harder than a blade. Aurelian's tutors had taught her that battlefields were infections. Defeat was sterilized. Victory was paved. Soldiers became numbers. Enemies were burned. Allies were archived. The ground was cleansed, so no one had to kneel in it again. It was efficient, imperial, merciful, she had once believed. Jonah stood and pointed across the ridge. "See that crater? That is where Lieutenant Kess dragged 3 wounded rebels out from artillery fire. She died before she learned their names. See that bunker? A boy from the enemy line locked the blast door so his squad could escape. He was 17 by your cycles. See those stairs? Your royal guard killed 20 prisoners there after the surrender signal failed." She turned sharply. He did not flinch. "Do not look away, princess. Battlefields remember what courts edit." For the first time since childhood, she had no royal answer. The next grave belonged to General Varish of the Ashburn, the commander who had burned to border cities and sent Aurelian a crown made from civilian cum tags. When human medics found his body, they wrapped him in a clean thermal sheet. Aurelian almost ordered them to stop. Jonah shook his head. "We are not honoring what he did," he said. "We are proving what we refuse to become." Those words followed her into sleep. Night fell, and the graves multiplied under lantern drones. Humans carved names: unknown, child of someone, medic, gunner, rebel, imperial. No rank above another, no species beneath another. They transmitted genetic signatures to open networks, inviting families from both sides to claim their dead. The princess watched a human private cry while burying the machine pilot who had killed his brother. When she asked why, the private said, "Because someone should, somewhere in that answer." The empire began to crack inside her at midnight. Surviving nobles landed to inspect the victory. Lord Merox wore white boots over ash and declared the graves inefficient. He proposed a memorial platform in orbit, polished, remote, controllable, more dignified than mud and bodies. The court agreed too quickly. Relieved to lift grief above eye level, Jonah said nothing until Merox ordered crews to level the burial field. Then every human on the ridge stopped digging. It was not a threat, not yet. It was worse. "Silence with a spine," Merox laughed. "Captain Hale, you forget your place. This is imperial soil." Jonah removed his helmet and set it on a grave. "No, my lord. This is where people died because people like us believed soil could belong to crowns." Merox reached for his sidearm. Aurelian saw human rifles rise. Not fast, not wild, just certain. One order could have begun another war among the graves of the last one. Aurelian stepped between them, royal cloak torn by wind. She had commanded fleets, signed executions, inherited a throne built on corrected histories. But never had so many dead seemed to be watching. She looked at Jonah, at the rows of names. "Why here?" she whispered. "Why not in gardens? Temples, cities, places of peace?" Jonah's face softened. "Because if we move them too far from where they fell, we start lying to ourselves. We build graves on battlefields so children will ask why the earth is uneven. So commanders must walk past names before they order fire. So victory can never pretend it was clean. We do it because the dead cannot stop the next war. But memory might slow the living long enough to think." Aurelian felt those words enter her like a wound that refused to close. At dawn, she canceled the cleansing by noon. She ordered the ridge sealed as protected ground for every side. By evening, she recorded the first confession in 3 centuries, naming prisoners killed on the stairs. Cities burned by Vorish, human dead, rebel dead, imperial dead, not as numbers. But as people, the court called it weakness. The soldiers called it dangerous. The families called it mercy years later. When Aurelian became empress, she outlawed the erasure of battlefields. Every war ground in the empire received graves, witness stones, and records no crown could edit. Generals complained that it damaged morale. Aurelian answered that morale, unable to survive truth, was only bloodlust in uniform. And when her son asked why humans had taught them to bury the dead where they fell, she took him to Karan 9, to the ridge where black soil had softened under grass, and showed him the first marker Jonah Hale had planted. His answer still haunted her, because it had saved her. "Humans build graves on battlefields," she told the boy, "because they know the most dangerous weapon in the universe is not rage or fear or steel. It is forgetting, and humans, terrifying humans, refuse to let the dead fight alone."